Welcome to the Oakley Podcast, Trucking, Business, and Family. This show is brought to you by Oakley Trucking, headquartered in North Little Rock, Arkansas. The purpose of this podcast is to communicate with Oakley owner-operators and their families by giving them up-to-date information concerning Oakley Trucking and the trucking industry, from business advice to safety updates to success stories. Also to give an insight to outside truck drivers that might be interested in joining the Oakley family. Hi, this is Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting here at Oakley Trucking, and I'm your host for this podcast. This is episode 18. On today's podcast, we're going to talk to Nick Dulaney and Clayton Smith, which both work here at Oakley Trucking in the dispatch division, one in the pneumatics and Nick as operations manager. We're going to get a little insight from them on how a dispatcher is trained. So I know that's got to be important to all you owner operators out there that's working for Oakley to understand what we do and what we go through to get the best that we can come up with on dispatchers and train them too to understand your job. And that's something we work hard at, and we're going to definitely get into that here in just a minute and talk to those guys about that. Now, first of all, I definitely want to thank you guys for listening, and our audience seems to be growing. I'm getting a lot of feedback every week from guys that are listening to it, and it amazes me sometimes the people that are listening to this thing. It's really good, and glad that we're getting out there and y'all are sharing it with everybody. Please tell your friends, and always, it's the purpose of this podcast is for our owner operators and their families to learn more about what's going on at Oakley Trucking, to educate you about Oakley, and all of us be more successful. That's the whole plan in starting this thing. But first, let's hear from Vicky Chastain for our weekly Need to Know segment.
Whether it's scrap metal that is found in a load of roofing granules, salt in a load of plastic, or material loaded in a trailer while raining, they are all considered contaminated loads. Preventing contaminations, that's this week's Need to Know segment. Contaminations are costly for both the owner-operator as well as for Oakley Trucking and should be taken very seriously. It all starts with the owner-operator. Once you get empty, take the proper time and steps needed to make sure that all material is out of the trailer prior to leaving the customer. If the trailer needs washed out prior to loading your next load, make sure that the wash facility did a sufficient job cleaning the trailer before leaving. No matter whose fault it is, all the customer knows is that Oakley Trucking has contaminated the load, or worse, has contaminated a silo. Do your part to pay attention to all the details that prevent load contaminations. I'm Vicky Chastain, and that's this week's Need to Know segment.
All right, let's get started. Clayton Smith, Nick Dulaney are with me today, and we're going to talk about how we hire a dispatcher and how we train him. Clayton, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
You want to give us a quick little history on you, maybe where you're from and how long you've been at Oakley?
Yeah, I'm actually from here in North Little Rock. I grew up here and then went to school in Fayetteville University, Arkansas. Graduated in 18 and worked for a year at a different company and came over here January of last year. So I guess 2019. So I've been here for about a year and a half.
Okay. Is this your first introduction to trucking?
This is.
Okay.
So I was not in trucking before this, so it was new.
All new to you. How about Nick Dulaney? He's been on with us before, so he's getting to become an old pro with this podcasting. So how about you, Dulaney? Give everybody a refresher on who you are.
All right. Nick Dulaney, been with Oakley about 15 years. Currently operations manager in the end-dump division. Third time here on the podcast. I'm pretty sure that makes me the official, unofficial co-host. So
yeah, I've been looking for one.
Yeah. Hey, I'm here. I
was looking for a different kind,
yeah.
But you'll work. Well, let's start off, guys, talking about how we even hire a dispatcher, where we look, maybe what we expect them to have, if anything, to kind of give everybody an idea of what the very beginning of what we're looking for. So I'm thinking, and Nick, you can help me on this because we've interviewed a lot of people over the years, but, I'm thinking we always look for somebody with a college education.
Yeah.
Of some sort. Doesn't have to be in logistics or trucking or anything, but we always seem to start out looking for somebody with a college education. You got one, don't you?
Yeah, I do have one in agriculture business.
Agriculture. Okay. So we interview them typically several times. You want to tell us how that goes through, how that process, Nick?
Yeah, typically when we bring somebody in for an interview, they'll come in and we'll go in, usually groups of 2 people. You know, it might be me and Jeremy.
Or 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just depends.
Yeah. So everybody goes in. So the interviewee is there. And then, 2 people go in, sit down, talk with him, kind of explain Oakley and what we do. And our goal is to try to paint a picture of really what a person's getting into, what we're looking for, what they can expect, and just paint a clear picture of what Oakley is. And just, we want it to be crystal clear what we're looking for. We don't want to, we try to throw all the bad parts out there that, people may not like.
Did we do that to you, Clayton?
No, it was a little intimidating, but
why is that?
Well, I came in, thinking, I need to wear a suit and tie, come in one-on-one interview, but and then ends up, he just brings in the whole dispatchers. I feel like they just wanted to make sure you fit in and you have, because we do a lot of talking with each other, so they feel like you want to fit in with everybody, and so I feel like they just want to get a feel for what you are and come in and just kind of not pick you alive, but kind of figure out who you are as a person.
Make sure you're telling all of us the same story.
Yeah, the same story.
Yeah. Well, and we have you typically come back a second or third time because we are really looking for the right person to do this, because as we know, it's not for everybody. I'm sure you figured that out in the first month and a half.
Yeah, especially your first day in the office.
Yeah, so it's different, but we try to find the best we can to put in that dispatcher seat, because there's so much responsibility that we expect out of you in that thing. And we want somebody here for life. This is not a stepping stone for somebody. We want people that's going to be here for good, and have the stamp on them, Oakley Trucking, and that's what we're looking for. So, after you got hired, tell me the process you had to go through there. As far as we started you in the shop. Is that right?
Yeah, I was in the shop for about 6 or 7 weeks at the beginning of it.
In the shop, we mean the trailer shop out here where you're working on trailers.
Yeah, I was working on trailers. I'd come in every day and
what'd you do out there?
So I was kind of, easy as just a trailer service or changing out tires, pretty much annual inspections. Just going back and forth. They really wanted you to kind of get a feel for each type of trailer that would come in and kind of get an aspect of what you're going to deal with in the office and what you may or may not dispatch, kind of get an idea of everything that Oakley does as in their trucking division.
What did you think after the first week of working out in the shop?
Well, luckily I had a little bit of labor in me growing up, but it was different. I didn't know anything about a trailer, or there was that many types of trailers, or what needed to be done or what could have happened. There's so much that goes into it that you just don't even realize it till you're out there, I guess, working on them.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a difference when you're out there working on them. You start learning what the lingo, what things are called, and
right.
How it works, how the trailer works.
Yeah, especially if you have a trailer on the road and something happens, you kind of have an idea of what's going to, go on in there.
Did that help you a lot working in the shop for 7 weeks? And then
you wouldn't think it would while you're out there until you get into the office and start dealing with the drivers and the trucks and the trailers every day.
So how's it helped you?
It's just kind of helped you plan. And especially whenever a driver calls in and say, I've got some type of air leak, or, a wheel seal leaking, or just anything, even, my tarp's got holes in, I need patches. Just something that simple, you kind of know what they're talking about. And, and then you kind of can keep up with it. And then as you go on, you can kind of plan on what you need to do and how long it'll take for everything to get done.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think it gives them a foundation of the trailers, the inner workings of them. I mean, I guess we started doing this a few years ago, actually having all new dispatchers come in. When I started 15 years ago, we didn't do that. I came in and they threw me on the phone. Well, it took me years to learn what they learned the first 6 weeks that they're here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's truly amazing how much insight they get into these trailers. And, you know, when you have a problem, you're out on the road, you're broke down. I mean, it's hot, there's traffic, you're frustrated. You know, the last thing you want to do is call in and talk to somebody that doesn't understand what you're trying to explain to them. Well, by them spending that time out in the shop, you know, they know exactly what you're talking about.
So you came in, you worked in the shop 7 weeks, 8 weeks. Then you came into the office.
Right.
And did you go straight to pneumatics?
No, I was in dumps at first and working under Scott.
Did
Tishko.
you, we put a couple of people in payroll.
Yeah, I went up there for 2 or 3 weeks just to learn the system and how, the drivers and all that need to, what they're paying and invoices and all that.
I forgot about that. Was that helpful?
It was a long 2 weeks up there, but it actually does help you with kind of learning the background of that, with how everything needs to be paid and how the drivers actually get paid every week and what their pay process is.
Well, you learn the paperwork process.
Right. Yeah. And how to track everything down and how our system works.
Yeah.
And
So they threw you in dump dispatch.
Yep. I was in dump for, I want to say 6 months or so but I also, bounced around and I was kind of working under almost like a secretary, but then a lot of it was, you do that for a little while and you're answering the phones and then you kind of just bouncing around. After that, learning every dispatcher and how everything needs to be dispatched.
The big thing I can remember starting a long time ago and the lingo, knowing the names of stuff was, I had to learn what they called certain things,
especially the cities and
and then geography. I was like, oh man, I've got to learn geography. I didn't know that state connected to that state, and it was that close. So that was all new too. You remember when you started, Nick, and any of how that first week or two felt?
Oh yeah, I remember my first day. I came in and Colby come in, set me down, and it's like if that phone rings, you answer it. You say, Oakley, this is Nick. Find out what they need and get them taken care of. And this was back whenever anytime anybody rang in, it rang on everybody's phone. So all day long I was answering the phone just as fast as I could and didn't have a clue what was going on. Couldn't have been more overwhelmed. I remember it was probably the first 3 weeks I was here. I was asleep one night and all of a sudden my wife ended up telling me this. I leaned up in my sleep. I said, Oakley, this is Nick. And she was like, what are you doing? And so, I mean, that's how overwhelming it can be. I was pretty excited about what I was doing.
Robot on answering that phone. You
Oakley,
get that phone answered.
Yeah.
That's great.
So,
you had any of these owner operators know you're a new guy and take advantage of you and do anything like that? Either one of y'all remember any instances like that where, they would call in and play a joke on you or?
I don't know necessarily a joke, but they'd always be like, who are you? Like, where's so-and-so? Like, I want to talk to, who are you? I don't know you.
You're a new guy. They didn't want to talk to you, did they?
Yeah.
How long did that take for them to?
Oh, it takes, you can still deal with it, especially if you're answering other phone calls, like to this day, you have that issue.
Well,
just because they're not comfortable or they don't really know you. And I get that, but you just got to get to know the guys. And that's a lot of it, just getting to know the drivers.
Isn't it though? I mean, that's the deal. Once you get to know them, and that's why they're like that. So they get to know their dispatcher. They don't want to talk to anybody else.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I mean, how many times have we heard them say, look, when my dispatcher goes on vacation, I want to go on vacation.
Oh, that happens.
That happens,
It does.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame them. Once you get to know, because you take care of them. So now you're dispatching your own set of trucks now?
I am.
How many of them you got?
Got about 35 right now.
And
I'm all with the vacuum pneumatics.
So you moved over.
I moved over and then I started working under Micah. And then I was there for probably 3 or 4 months or maybe a little longer. It was about October last year.
Then you got your own set of trucks.
I got my own set of trucks.
So now you've had that for,
I guess almost, was that 8 months?
8 months.
So yeah.
How's that going?
It's going pretty smooth right now. It probably took till about February to get everything down. A lot of late nights and up here at the office just trying to get everything organized, because you almost got to get in your own routine, and that's the big part of it. Once you can get that routine down and get to know everything and know the system, kind of helps out a lot.
I was also thinking during that process, I don't know if he did it or not, Nick, but we typically make everybody ride with a driver.
Yeah, I hadn't done that yet.
You haven't done that yet?
There's rumors I am, but
Yeah. It's coming. It is coming.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it's a very good thing to do. I've done it. Nick's done it. That's about everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some that probably missed out on it, but it's an eye opener.
I'm sure, just to see what goes on the road.
Yeah. I mean, it's an eye opener to do it, and plus, the owner operators, to me, a week's not a big deal. They're out there every week, but even if you just do it for that week, you can see a lot of things that they deal with: shippers, receivers, getting loaded, how long it takes, getting unloaded, some of the facilities we go into. It makes a difference. I mean, it did on me.
Oh, yeah.
When I did it.
Seeing, how to load and just the problems you run into out there, it's an eye opener.
It is. It make you respect them even more.
Definitely.
When you do that. Okay. What else you guys want to touch on? You got, what I was wanting to, this is a little bit off subject of training dispatchers, but I think this is a good training for you, Clayton, because we were talking about it a while ago, and that was this contamination that you were experiencing. I really think all our owner operators need to hear this story. And if you don't mind, you want to tell us how that went again?
Yeah. And I mean, it's, it goes back, before we even start this, it goes back to how we dispatch at the very beginning and how we need to communicate with everyone on the road and not get so relaxed with everything, just because you do need to go by this procedure that we do every time you send a load, just because if you miss one little step, it could cost you, your escrow, and then Oakley, however much it costs. It could be anywhere from a little bit to a whole lot. And so, I mean, it's just something that, that what happened it's probably been a few months now that, we contaminated, a whole silo.
A whole silo.
85,000 pounds of material.
Mm.
And so doing that, I mean, it doesn't look good for Oakley. And, luckily we made things right and took care of it. But it just goes back to, you need to make sure as a driver that you are double checking everything and it's serious.
So
as like in the trailer, as it being clean, like when you go through washouts from going from one material to a different type of material, if it's got to be a certain wash, we need to make sure we get that wash, even if we're going from a different location, if we're switching things up, say, you get dispatched on one thing and then, it happens a lot. You get halfway there and then another load comes around, everything's jumping around, everything's getting excited. You send someone else, we need to make sure as a team that we're, doing it right.
So we took a load to a receiver, a customer, and unloaded into a silo. And then 2 weeks later.
Yeah. And 2 weeks later after, we delivered more loads on top of it. So then I guess it went, you're loading that silo from the top down. So I guess as the material got to the bottom, they started using that part of the material, realized it was contaminated.
So what was in the silo?
It was plastic pellets.
And they found salt?
Yeah, it was salt.
So, and this is 2 weeks later, they call Oakley and go, what? Hey, we've got a problem.
Yeah. Hey, well, they they called the shipper. Then the shipper calls us, hey, we've got an issue. We can't deliver any more loads over there. They think their silo's contaminated. And then they did an investigation, come back to us, said it was salt. This happened to be on your trailer last on the wash ticket.
So they looked at the prior product.
Yeah, prior product on the wash ticket. So then we got in the big deal, what did we do? Did I dispatch it right, or did the driver check the trailer? It can go as, that's with these, back pneumatic trailers, they all bottom drop the product line. Those aren't dropped. It could have anything in those gaskets or in the tees that they're not dropped. You don't get them clean, especially in the hoses.
Yeah, during the washout process.
Yeah, during the washout process. Right.
Yeah. So, man, that's hard to swallow.
Yeah,
because when you get that call, because you're thinking it's your fault. We're probably pinpointing the driver on, because they can dial it back to the truck that delivered and the time.
They always will try.
They
to.
always will.
Yeah.
And so it hits home when it's us, because really the customer, all they know is Oakley contaminated this.
Right.
It's not Joe Blow or Clayton Smith. They don't care.
It's the name on the side of the trailer.
That's right. They contaminated this whole silo, and it is doesn't go over well with anybody. So the reason I wanted you to share that with our owner operators is because that's real. It's stuff that happens that we've got to pay attention and do our best to avoid any of those, and us and the driver. I mean, that stuff can get very costly.
Yeah, and you go to places, especially with the plastic side, they'll go in and out of that trailer with a flashlight, and if they find one speck of material, it doesn't matter if it's on top of the dome lid or inside the top of it, it's rejected.
Yeah.
It just shows that, you just need to make sure as a driver and as a dispatcher, we're doing our part.
So that was, that hit home with you being here.
Yeah. Just
8 months on the backs.
Doesn't look good, but we got it all. Then, we got it done right and fixed it. So that's, we're okay, but it's not okay at the same time.
Yeah.
And something like that, like you said, just a few pieces, just not checking a hose, on the end up, not checking your gate seal, not checking the bow pockets. When this stuff, contaminants get into this material, you're looking, it goes into the factory, into whatever their finished product is. Well, you're looking at, you contaminate a silo, you contaminate all the product they made. You're responsible for all the time that they spent, energy, everything that went into making that product. So it's a huge deal. And I know, that's one thing, new dispatchers, even anybody, we talk about this all the time, that details matter. If you've got to go over it, and it's something we want everybody to listen to and take to heart, and everybody needs to understand how important it is, because it affects everybody in the company. You've got to take the time to pay attention to the details and double check, your trailer.
Well, when we're training a new dispatcher, we're drilling in his head constantly what we call a dispatch procedure, which is ask the driver if he's clean. Have you been inside the trailer? Have you looked inside the trailer? Have you done your pre-trip? We have this list of dispatch procedures that we go by that we're supposed to ask them. And on the other end of the phone, you've got a owner operator that's been out there for 20, 30 years. He's been doing this job. And Clayton's sitting in here.
24 years old.
4 years old, and been sitting in here 8 months. And he's asking me these questions that I already know, son. I've been doing this for a long time. But
it's that important.
It's that important because, and you see that when something like this contamination happens, you see that goes, man, I whether I dropped my guard a little bit or this guy did, it's all it takes. So you guys that get mad at us out there for that new dispatcher asking those same questions over and over and over, that's why. And we know we know you know how to do your job, but you just cannot replace thorough, doing it right, doing it thorough every time, because they can get lax every day doing the same thing every day, just like we can.
Definitely.
Right. And I would say even with these guys that have been on the road for, 20, 25 years, they can help us out too, coming in as a new dispatcher. Say we, get in a rush and we're not, we're going a little too quick. They can come back to us, but hey, they can help us out instead of try to just go on and try to do it themselves. And that's like, as I first started, you'd have these guys, they just want to, talk to their dispatcher and not the new guy that's trying to help them out. They could help them out and just, let the new guy try to talk to them and go through the process. We're a team here. I think so.
Well, and that's how you learn everything.
Yeah.
That's how I learned everything, is from the drivers a lot. I've learned a lot from just listening to them and talking to them. And that's what you're saying.
Right.
They could help a new guy out by talking to him and explaining some stuff to him.
And just, don't just say, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to so-and-so. I would just say, let them talk, and, because they can probably help you. It could be a simple question, or, the other guy's busy and they can try to figure it out. I mean, that's the only way they're going to learn is to figure it out.
Definitely. And I mean, that's why when a new dispatcher does come in, after he's been in the shop, after he's gone through orientation, he's been in billing, he's going to shadow a dispatcher. So it's set up to where when that dispatcher's phone rings, the dispatcher in training, his phone, the same line, it rings on both phones. So, if the dispatcher is on the phone, then the trainee, he's catching that phone call. And we want that because that's how he's going to learn. We want him, hey, I've got a hole in my tarp, or, I need a washout. That's the only way to learn, because this job is so complicated that the only way to learn it is to roll up your sleeves, get in there, and, start digging. So
jump in the deep end and hope you can swim.
Definitely. And we got enough people in the office, and we're all in there together, that nobody's going to drown. It's a safe swim zone in there. But we, that's the way everybody that's in dispatch and operations, that's the way everybody started. We've all gone through the same process, and we all learn the same way by getting in there, getting involved with it, and, trying to make it better as we go.
Well, we feel like it works, because we've had all these years of success, and no matter what you do, you're going to have problems. I mean, with contaminations or accidents, you're not going to avoid all of that, but we've been successful at the way we've trained everybody. And we've trained over the years also to listen to our truck drivers and our owner operators, and to listen to what's going on and learn from it. And sometimes that's hard to acquire, to listen to everybody, but that's how you make some good decisions, if you're listening and learning all the time. And you're right now, you've been here a year and a half, and you're 8 months into dispatching the vacuum pneumatics at that. So you've really got a task going there. But
yeah, it's a lot, but it's everyday ordeal. You've got to keep with it, and it's not something that you just come in and then you leave at 5. You gotta put your hours into it, and on the weekend you're constantly talking to either the drivers or a customer, because you never know what's going to happen. You got to make sure that you're available.
So you're accessible.
Yes.
24/7.
Yeah, you need to be. You
encourage your guys to let you know when something goes wrong.
Right. 3:00 in the morning, I'd prefer not to, but
ain't a whole lot you can do then, is there?
No, not a whole lot you can do at 3:00 in the morning. But if it's an emergency, you got to be there.
Well, the whole point is the communication part, because the quicker you let a customer know what's going on.
Normally, as long as you communicate and you can tell the customer what's going on, they're understanding. But don't sit there as a driver and something happen and you say, "Oh, I'll just wait till the morning to talk to you." Call me or call whoever.
Right. Okay, so I would say, Nick, Clayton's probably come along a lot quicker than other ones, because here it is a year and a half, and he's already got a set of trucks.
Yeah.
Where we've had a lot of guys be here 2 years and not have a set of trucks before. Not that they're any slower or learning or anything like that. It's just that's the way it works out and where the need is. But it takes, even being here a year and a half, you can tell. I mean, too, that there's still a whole lot to learn.
No, there's a lot left to learn.
You learn something every day, don't you?
Yeah, every day.
I do too, and I've been here 26 years, and I'm thinking, man, surely I know it all, but
nothing goes the way you want it to go, or it's never planned perfect.
No. How would you rate our training so far? I mean, you've been in it a year and a half now.
I think I wouldn't really necessarily know how you could do it differently, unless y'all maybe have it something you could change. But the way you've got it set up is the way you really want to learn is just to, go out there and do it. You can't just sit back and watch. You got to go in and really want to do it to make it through.
I think we, tell me if I'm wrong, Nick, but I think we kind of like getting guys that have not been in trucking or not been at another trucking company really very long. Then we can train them the Oakley way.
Definitely. I think I've never worked at another trucking company, but just talking with people in the industry and what have you, I think that the way we set up and the way we operate is kind of unique. And I think it does make a big difference, if a guy's never, we've got a clean slate to work with, and then we can bring them in and mold them the way that we want them, the way we want to operate, and, really instill those core values, that we want them to focus on, safety, taking care of the owner operator, taking care of the customer, just a lot of the things that have gotten us to where we are today. We want that instilled in the next generation, and, so that we continue to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. I mean, I think that's really good stuff that I think our owner operators would appreciate us sharing with them today. You guys got anything else to add here before we shut her down?
I don't think so.
I think we covered quite a bit.
I think we covered quite a bit too.
I would like to touch on the calling in the middle of the night deal. That's real important, and I've heard it so many times over the years. We get in the morning, and at 7 or 8 o'clock, we get a phone call and like, hey, I didn't call you last night, but I broke down, and I'm not going to be there when I told you I was going to be there. And I just want everybody to understand that whenever you talk to your dispatcher and y'all talk about we're going to deliver at a certain time, we're planning off of that. We're communicating that time to customers. And so even though nothing can be done at 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever time it is, we may not be able to do anything right then, but having that knowledge as soon as it happens is vital for us to be able to react to it, because we may not be able to do anything right then, but it could cause us to change other plans that we had to kind of take care of the customer. So, that's one thing I think is real important that everybody needs to know. And that's one thing we tell guys when they come in. Mm. A new dispatcher comes in, every interview I've ever sat through, I told them, listen, we're all on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that we are. So if there's an issue out there, just simple phone call. Hey, I'm broke down. I know it's 2 o'clock in the morning, but we need to get that call just so that we have the information so we can relay it to the customer, because, all situations are different. You never know how important it is, but that information is crucial. So I really think I wanted to kind of harp on that a little bit and make sure everybody understands how important that is. And I know nobody wants to bug anybody at 3 o'clock in the morning, but, it's
sometimes
important what we do.
Yeah, sometimes.
Especially on a holiday too. Last week it was 4th of July. I had 3 or 4 phone calls, had problems going on, but you need to take care of it.
Yeah. And that's what we all signed up for. We're here to take care of business, and, it doesn't stop at 5 o'clock. It's all the time.
Well, and I think that's a real good point, because a lot of these guys may come from companies, especially the newer guys, may come from companies that have a whole nother experience with dispatchers. You know, they're 8 to 5, don't care where they're at the end. If the driver doesn't call to get them by 5, then they're not going to talk to them till Monday. And the guy's out there sitting, waiting, trying to get a hold, and they can't get a hold of nobody. Or they call in to night dispatch. Somebody's got a second shift and they don't know what's going on. So I think we got a unique situation here where we trying to have that owner operator talk to one guy. And it makes a big difference, especially like I say, when these new guys are coming from another company, they may have a perception of a dispatcher that's not just real good at some places, but I really think they are shocked when they come and meet a guy like Clayton or meet a guy like Nick, and this is who is going to dispatch me. And I think it makes them proud to know that, and that's different than a lot of other companies do.
Yeah,
I really think so. So, and that may be, Clayton probably didn't even know think of that because, he hadn't been here long enough or been at any other company, but it makes a difference.
It's pretty much just what almost like you grew up knowing.
Yeah.
That's what I started here, and that's been what it's been since
you know.
Day one. Yeah, that's all I know.
That's why we want to keep it.
Yes, sir.
Right, Nick?
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all joining me today and on this episode and giving our owner operators a little insight of what dispatchers training is like. I think it went pretty good. Y'all did a good job.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys listening to us. All our owner operators out there and their families, we thank you very much for the job you do every day and appreciate y'all a lot. And we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Oakley Podcast, Trucking, Business, and Family. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate or review the show in the podcast platform of your choice and share it with a friend. We love hearing from our audience, so if you've got a question, comment, or just want to say hello, head over to our website, theoakleypodcast.com, and click the Leave a Comment button. We'll get you a response soon and may even share some of the best ones here on the show. We'll be back with a fresh episode very soon. Thanks for listening.